Hello everyone, welcome back to our course, Understanding the Self. I am Sir Ced and let's begin our discussion. So becoming a better student, this is very important in your life right now as college students. So I want you to try to learn some coping skills or some tips on how you can become a better student, especially during the course of the pandemic wherein you are in your online digital learning. So, intended learning outcomes, you will define learning and explain the characteristics of learning. You will identify the changes that happen during learning and develop ways to become an effective learner. Let's begin. So, according to Carl Rogers, the only person who is educated is the one who has learned to learn and change. Well, as what people say, no, you needed to become a lifelong learner, wherein you continuously learn and relearn lots of new things in life. Wherein you try to develop new strategies for you to learn effectively and for you to also to indict change. Again, it is important for you to change and at the same time learn new things. Some things that we learn sometimes needed to be unlearned for those new learning to come into us. Well, that is very deep, but you will realize what I'm saying in your journey in your college life. So, learning involves change. Learning involves acquiring changes in the present knowledge, skills, habits, behaviors, or tendencies through experience, practice, or formal education. Okay, so basically through studying, we learn not only knowledge but also the skills, the habits, behaviors. Okay, we could also learn that, no? So it is not only through books but also experiences. You can learn a lot through experiences. It is the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes through experience. Again, learning new knowledge and skills every day keeps the structure of the brain in constant change, which increases brain's ability to learn. So I want to really reiterate, no, that when you try to use your brain, no, you will really develop, no, how you learn new things, and you will develop your skills basically, and your brain also changes. Okay, that is what I will discuss later on. So, a self-regulated learning is a process which students systematically direct their thoughts, feelings, and actions towards the attainment of their academic goals. So basically, this is more of an independent learning wherein there is a goal that you're trying to achieve, no? There is a focus or a direction. The three essential components are planning, problem solving, and self-evaluation. So planning increases efficiency, control, and motivation because we needed to know our academic goals. Where are we heading to for us not to get misdirected? Problem solving allow the students to learn to think and look for solutions when faced with adversity. So it is really unavoidable when we undergo or when we experience some problems in our life. So therefore, we needed to make solutions from it, no, through thinking and basically learning. Basically, will help us have those problem solving skills that we needed in order for us to overcome these adversities. Self-evaluation is very, very important as well. This will increase your self-awareness that can lead for us to become a better to have a better understanding of ourselves, our emotions, as well as our strengths and weaknesses. So with these three components, now we can be able to really direct ourselves to our goal, our academic goals, for us to progress and continue, okay, with our learning, no? So I hope you've learned something from this. Planning, problem solving, self-evaluation. Metacognition. Okay, metacognition is a term from cognitive psychology. Meta means beyond, no? Beyond. It is the awareness of one's thinking and the strategies one uses to learn. Okay? Well, basically, it is the awareness of one's thought processes and an understanding of the patterns behind them. So through metacognition, we can be able to think what we can learn, okay, or something like that. It really goes beyond to what you're just thinking, no? Thinking about learning, about the different strategies to use to learn. We have some mnemonic devices that we can use in order for us to really learn effectively or for us to memorize effectively. Okay, it is basically analyzing how we learn. This could help improve our ability to learn new skills later on. Neuroplasticity. This is the ability of the brain to change throughout one's life. So I really believe in this concept, neuroplasticity, wherein our skills can really be honed, no? If we are born not to be good in math, but if we really develop and if we really practice so much, then we could really improve our ability in solving mathematical equations, no? So basically, this concept really goes beyond what is right now or what is our skill right now. We could improve ourselves better, no? So because our brain really changes as we learn. That's what I said kanina, diba? So as we use our brain, no, our way of learning also changes, and vice versa as well. So the two ways that the brain can change are, number one, an increase in the number of synapses between neurons. No, synapses are the connections of those neurons in our brains, or those okay. So basically, if there are a lot of connection, no, if we could activate these connections, then there will be more connections that could happen, that can be triggered, basically enhancing our efficiency in learning. Okay, the change in the function and the structure of the neurons. Well, this is very in line to our biological sense of the person, like the things that we eat, no? Our habits like sleeping, eating, this could really affect the function and the structure of our neurons. Okay? Neurons are the basic building blocks of the nervous system that transmit impulses or messages. No, the more neurons, the better, because it could really activate synapses, which are the gaps between the neurons to transfer information and messages. Okay, let's move on to the brain, cerebral cortex. This is packed with neurons and is responsible for the most sophisticated information processing of the brain. So this is divided by the four lobes, namely frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. So those four lobes has different functions in learning as well. Frontal lobe, okay, this is the part of the brain. It is important in cognitive skills and basically functions in the emotional expression, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, and sexual behaviors. This is known to be the control panel of our personality and our ability to communicate. Parietal lobe. This processes sensory information and receives from the outside world, mainly relating to touch, taste, and temperature. Temporal lobe. Responsible for creating and preserving both conscious and long-term memory. It plays a role in the visual and sound processing and is crucial for both object recognition and language recognition. Occipital lobe. The occipital lobe participates in the vision processing. It processes and interprets everything we see, no? Occipital. So this lobe is also responsible for analyzing content such as shapes, colors, and movement, and also for interpreting and drawing conclusions about the images we see. So the four lobes of the brain has different functions. No, most efficiency, most related into our senses, no? Our hearing, seeing, tasting, okay, smelling, and seeing, no? Basically, the five senses are involved in the lobes of the brain. So characteristics of learning are the following. So in order for us to become an effective learner, we should know these characteristics of learning. Well, number one is learning is purposeful. So again, there should be a goal that we needed to set in ourselves, what we wanted to learn. Okay, what do we wanted to find out? What do we wanted to analyze? No? What is our goal? Why we are learning this? Learning is a result of experience. Again, learning is not just box into the books, into knowledge, but also learning can be a form of experiential learning, like what you experience with your friends, what you experience with this event, with a particular situation, no? So another thing, learning is multifaceted. So multifaceted means it has a lot of sources, multifarious. It could be through our cognition, through our vision, through our hearing, through our smelling, through our tasting, no? Through our senses. We learn so much through using the five senses. Learning is an active process. So learning is a cognitive behavior because we uses our brain, our cognitive mind, in order to process information. And with that information, we could use that later on in some events of our life. Well, basically, it's a process. It's an active process wherein it's a reciprocation of giving and receiving. So if you learn something, then you could apply that later on. So what happens during learning? Well, as what I say, brain and behavior really changes during learning. Okay? So, how to become a better student? Being a good student enables you to attract equally good college students, and since you happen to share a lot in common, you're likely to advance in your friendships even way after college. And this is a good when it comes to sharing available opportunities and ideas as well. So, this is quite, I believe it's quite challenging during these times that we should learn to really discipline ourselves, because in our remote setup of education, sometimes we really tend to forget the basic function or the goal why we learn. So it's good to always remind ourselves, okay, these are some of the good study habits that we could incorporate in our online learning. Okay, this refers to the behaviors of students when preparing for test or any learning assessment. So I hope you could apply some of these tips for your study behavior. Get organized. Now, it's good that you have plans, like you have a to-do list of what you can accomplish for this week or for the day. You have a checklist. I really do that as often as possible. Now, prepare your review materials. So it really depends on you. How do you prepare your review materials? Do you make notes, or do you make or do you read books, or do you make reviewers? How do you review before a test? It really depends to the student. You ask for help. If you did not understand so well, it's good to seek support from your classmates, or from your friends, or from someone who is knowledgeable for the lesson, like your teacher. No, you could ask questions if you don't really understand. Test yourself. No, again, practice makes perfect. So again, it's important for us to make an assessment of how much we learned. Through testing ourselves, we could really know the measurement of how much we know already, and what can we do in order to improve ourselves, to perform better. Allot time to take a break and eliminate stress. So taking breaks, like I could recommend the Pomodoro technique, wherein you do your work for 10 minutes straight and break for another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes again. It depends on you. How can you manage well your time without burning out yourself? Create or join a study group. So it's good to have a support system. Okay, if you don't understand the lesson, you could seek for help from an organization or your classmates. If you have some GC, you could ask questions towards them, and if they could help you, okay, it is, yun nga, makakatulong sila sa inyo. Kailangan nyo talaga mag-reach out sa kanila. Teach what you have learned. So, again, I just wanted to really reiterate again, no, na teaching what you have learned is important for you to conserve the learning you have. Because if you teach that, no, it's most probably it is already, okay, implied, or it is already encoded in your brain. Because when you can teach what you have learned, then you have applied it into real life, or you have really applied it, wherein it is difficult for it to be forgotten. You know what I'm saying? No, basically like that. So if you teach it, well, basically it will really be in your mind. No, it is hard for it to be forgotten. It will be encoded na sa cognition mo. Prepare going to school. Well, basically you have to really discipline yourselves on how can you manage your time well, especially when you are going into class, attending synchronous classes, or when you're doing your assessments. So you need to prepare what you needed to do for your assessments, for your assignments. No, you really have to manage your time well. Use different resources. No, not just one textbook, but you needed to use other resources. Especially the internet has really widened our scope of information that we could get. Well, use that. No, use that in your advantage. Be critical and make learning personal. Well, if you make it personal, if you use it in your own words, well, basically the learning that you already have will be encoded already, and it's hard to forget. It is already encoded in your mind. Therefore, if you make it personal, then you could teach it again and you could remember it. Meaningful learning. So the key or the goal of learning is to make our life easier. I think that is the goal of learning, and to improve the humankind or our life right now. So learning should be personal and at the same time meaningful. There should be a purpose why we learn. Okay? Ask for help. Again, if you don't understand so well about a lesson, you need to ask for support or ask for guidance from your teacher, from your advisor, from your classmate, or from someone that you know that can help you. do other things. Well, we should not burn out ourselves so much about learning. It's good also that we have other things that we could do, no, that we could be focused on in order for us not to become intoxicated by what we are doing, like studying. Okay, and that is the end of the lesson. I hope you've learned something, especially the tips to study. Okay, thank you so much, and I hope you will become a better learner someday. See you soon, and goodbye.